is the red engine. Dear friends of Edward, Gordon, Henry, and Thomas, thank you for your kind letters. Here's the new book for which you asked. James, who crashed into the story of Thomas the Tank Engine, settles down and becomes a useful engine. We are nationalized now, but the same engines still work the region. I am glad too to tell you that the Fat Director, who understands our friend's ways, is still in charge, but is now the Fat Controller. I hope you'll enjoy this book too. The offer. James and a Top Hat. James was a new engine who lived at a station at the other end of the line. He had 2 small wheels in front and 6 driving wheels behind. They weren't as big as Gordon's, but they weren't as small as Thomas's either.
You're a special mixed traffic engine, James. You'll be able to pull coaches or trucks quite easily.
But trucks are not easy things to manage, and on his first day, they had pushed James down a hill and into a field. He had been ill after the accident, but now he had new brakes and a shining coat of red paint.
The red paint will cheer you up after your accident. You are to pull coaches today, and Edward shall help you.
The 2 engines went together to find the coaches.
Be careful with the coaches, James. They don't like being bumped. Trucks are silly and noisy. They need to be bumped and taught to behave. But coaches get cross and will pay you out.
They took the coaches to the platform and were both coupled on in front. The Fat Controller, the Station Master, and some little boys all came to admire James's shining rods and red paint.
I am a really splendid engine.
The Fat Director, the Station Master, and the guard all jumped, and a shower of water fell on the Fat Controller's nice new top hat. Just then the whistle blew, and James thought they had better go, so off they went.
Go on, go on.
Don't push! Don't push!
Don't go so fast! Don't go so fast!
James didn't listen, for he wanted to run away before the Fat Controller could call him back. He didn't even want to stop at the first station. Edward tried hard to stop, but the 2 coaches in front were beyond the platform before they stopped, and they had to go back to let the passengers out. Lots of people came to look at James, and as no one seemed to know about the Fat Controller's top hat, James felt happier. Presently they came to a junction where Thomas was waiting with his 2 coaches.
Hello, James. Feeling better? That's right. Ah, that's my guard's whistle. I must go. Sorry I can't stop. I don't know what the Fat Controller would do without Major on this branch line.
Leaving the junction, they passed the field where James had his accident. The fences mended and the cows were back again. James whistled, but they paid no attention. They clattered through Edward's station yard and started to climb the hill beyond.
It's ever so steep. It's ever so steep.
I've done it before. I've done it before.
It's steep.
Bubble, do it.
It's steep.
Bubble, do it.
They both rested at the next station. Edward told James how Gordon had stuck on a hill and he had to push him up. James laughed so much that he got hiccups and surprised an old lady in a black bonnet. She dropped all her parcels, and 3 porters, the station master, and the guard had to run after her, picking them up. James was quiet in the sheds that night. He had enjoyed his day, but he was a little afraid of what the Fat Controller would say about the top hat.
His name is Topham Hatt. Some people say he's stout, rather rotund, really quite round, but he doesn't see it like that.
He considers he's a gentleman of merit,
With a railway exquisitely fine.
But his main aim is to see that his trains run right on time. Sir Topham Hatt, he's the head of the railway, there is no doubt about that. Controller of the line, it's plain as plain can be, for everyone to see that it's the Fat Controller's railway. everyone tried to push. But Sir Topham Hatt would have none of that.
My doctor has forbidden me to push.
And one day the wind blew his hat off.
A goat in the field saw his chance.
He just picked up the hat, said thank you for that, and ate it up for lunch. Sir Topham Hatt, he's the head of the railway. There is no doubt about that. Controller of the line, it's plain as plain can be. For everyone to see that it's the fat controller's railway. Controller's railway. Sir Topham Hatt.
James and the Bootlace. The next morning, the Fat Controller spoke severely to James.
If you can't behave, I shall take away your red coat and have you painted blue.
James did not like that at all, and he was very rough with the coaches as he brought him to the platform.
Come along, come along.
All in good time. All in good time.
Don't talk, come on.
With the coaches squealing and grumbling after him, he snorted into the station. James was cross that morning. The Fat Controller had spoken to him, the coaches had dawdled, and, worst of all, he had to fetch his own coaches.
Gordon never does, and he's only painted blue. Splendid red engine like me should never have to fetch his own coaches.
He puffed and snorted round to the front of the train and backed onto it with a rude bump.
Oh, was that too bad?
To make James even more cross, he then had to take the coaches to a different platform where no one came near him as he stood there. The Fat Controller was in his office, the station master was at the other end of the train with the guard, and even the little boy stood a long way off. James felt lonely.
I'll show them. I think Gordon is the only engine who can pull coaches.
As soon as the guard's whistle blew, he started off with a tremendous jerk.
Come on, come on, come on.
Squeaking and groaning in protest, the coaches clattered over the points and onto the open line.
Hurry, hurry, hurry.
You're going too fast. You're going too fast.
The coaches were going so fast that they swayed from side to side. James laughed and tried to go faster, but the coaches wouldn't let him.
We're going to stop. We're going to stop. We're going to stop.
What's the matter?
The brakes are hard on. Leak in the pipe, most likely. You've banged the coaches enough to make a leak in anything. The driver and the guard got down and looked at the brake pipes all along the train. At last they found a hole where rough treatment had made a joint work loose.
How shall we mend it?
We'll do it with newspapers and a levered bootlace.
Well, where's the bootlace coming from? We haven't got one.
Ask the passengers. So the guard made everyone get out of the coaches.
Has anybody got a leather bootlace?
They all said no except for one man in a bowler hat, whose name was Jeremiah Jobling, who tried to hide his feet.
You have a leather bootlace there, I see, sir. Please give it to me.
No, I won't.
Then I'm afraid this train will just stop where it is.
Then the passengers all told the guard, the driver, and the fireman what a bad railway it was. But the guard climbed into his van, and the driver and fireman made James let off steam. So they all told Jeremiah Jobling what a bad man he was instead. At last he gave him his laces. The driver tied a pad of newspapers tightly around the hull, and James was able to pull the train. But he was a sadder and wiser James, and he took care never to bump coaches again. Troublesome Trucks. James did not see the Fat Controller for several days. They left James alone in the shed and did not even allow him to go out and push coaches and trucks in the yard.
Oh dear. I'll never be allowed out anymore. I shall have to stay in here for always, and no one will ever see my red coat again. Oh dear. Oh dear.
Just then the Fat Controller came along.
I see you are sorry, James. I hope now that you will be a better engine. You have given me a lot of trouble. People are laughing at my railway, and I do not like that at all.
I'm very sorry, sir. I'll try hard to behave.
That's a good engine. I want you to pull some trucks for me. Run along and find them.
So James puffed happily away.
Here your trucks, James. Have you got the bootlaces ready?
James took no notice and started as soon as the guard was ready.
Come along, come along.
But James didn't care, and he pulled the screeching truck sternly out of the yard. The trucks tried hard to make him give up, but he still kept on. Sometimes their brakes would slip on, and sometimes their axles would run hot. Each time they would have to stop and put the trouble right, and each time James would start again, determined not to let the trucks beat him. You can't.
I can and I will. I can and I will.
And slowly but surely he pulled him along the line. At last they saw Gordon's hill ahead. Look out for trouble, James. We'll go fast and get him up before they know it. Don't let him stop you. So James went faster and faster, and they were soon halfway up the hill.
I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Will the top never come?
Then with a sudden jerk, it all came easier.
I've done it! I've done it! Hooray! It's easy now!
But his driver shut off steam. Oh, they've done it again. We've left our tail behind. The last 10 trucks were running backwards down the hill. The coupling had snapped, but the guard was brave. Very carefully and cleverly, he made them stop. Then he got out and walked down the line with his red flag.
So that's why it was easy. What silly things trucks are. It might have been an accident.
Meanwhile, the guard had stopped Edward, who was pulling 3 coaches.
Shall I help you, James?
No thank you. I'll pull them myself.
Good. Don't let them beat you.
I can do it. I can do it.
He pulled and puffed as hard as he could.
You're doing well.
James slowly struggled up the hill, clouds of smoke and steam pouring from his funnel. At last.
I've done it! I've done it!
They reached their station safely. James was resting in the yard when Edward puffed by with a cheerful whistle. Then, walking towards him across the rails, James saw the Fat Controller.
Oh dear! What will he say?
I was in Edward's train and saw everything, James. You've made the most troublesome trucks on the line behave, and after that, you deserve to keep your red coat.
James and the Express. Sometimes Gordon and Henry slept in James's shed, and they would talk of nothing but bootlaces. James would talk about engines who got shut up in tunnels and stuck on hills, but they wouldn't listen and went on talking and laughing.
You talk too much, little James. A fine, strong engine like me has something to talk about. I'm the only engine who can pull the Express. When I'm not there, they need 2 engines. Think of that. I've pulled Expresses for years, and have never once lost my way. I seem to know the right line by instinct.
Every wise engine knows, of course, that the signalman works to the points to make engines run on the right lines, but Gordon was so proud that he had forgotten.
Wake up, James. It's nearly time for the Express. What are you doing? Odd jobs? Oh well, we all have to begin somewhere, don't we? Run along now and get my coaches. Don't be late.
James went to get Gordon's coaches. They were all shining with lovely new paint. He was careful not to bump them, and they followed him smoothly into the station, singing happily.
We're going away! We're going away!
I wish I was going with you. I should love to pull the express and go flying along the line.
He left the coaches at the station and went back to the yard, just as Gordon, with much noise and blowing of steam backed onto the train. The Fat Controller was on the train with other important people, and as soon as they heard the guard's whistle, Gordon started.
Look at me now! Look at me now! Goodbye, little James. See you tomorrow.
James watched the train disappear around a curve and then went back to work. He pushed some trunks into their proper sidings and went to fetch the coaches for another train. He'd brought the coaches to the platform and was just being uncoupled when he heard a mournful, quiet noise. There was Gordon trying to sidle into the station without being noticed.
Hello, Gordon. Is it tomorrow?
Gordon didn't answer. He just let off steam feebly.
Did you, lose your way, Gordon?
No, it was lost for me. I was switched off the main line and onto the loop. I had to go all around and back again.
Perhaps it was instinct.
Meanwhile, all the passengers hurried to the booking office. We want our money back! Everyone was making a noise, but the Fat Controller climbed on a trolley and blew the guard's whistle so loudly that they all stopped to look at him. Then he promised them a new train at once.
Gordon can't do it. Will you pull it for us, James?
Yes, sir. I'll try.
So James was coupled on and everyone got in again.
Do your best, James.
Just then the whistle blew and he had to run to get in.
Come along, come along.
You're pulling us well. You're pulling us well.
Hurry, hurry, hurry.
Stations and bridges flashed by, the passengers leaned out the windows and cheered, and they soon reached the terminus. Everyone said thank you to James.
Well done, James. Would you like to pull the express sometimes?
Yes, please.
The next day when James came by, Gordon was pushing trucks in the yard.
I like some quiet work for a change. I'm teaching these trucks manners. You did well with those coaches, I hear. Good. We'll show them.
And he gave his trucks a bump. James and Gordon are now good friends. James sometimes takes the express to give Gordon a rest. Gordon never talks about bootlaces, and they are both quite agreed on the subject of trucks.
He's a really splendid engine, everybody knows, but he does go on and on and on, always telling us so. He is a splendid fellow, but he really is quite vain. Who do we mean? You got it! James!
That's James.